Is there really a silent majority? Or is there like a silent 5% or so? And if that's the case, is that enough for Donald Trump to win? It actually might be. That might be the missing silent majority, though they're not in the majority, still might be enough for Trump to take the election or to get reelected. In this tweet from Sean T at RCP, that is Real Clear Politics, he's a senior elections analyst, he tweeted, New York Times Siena has Trump at 46% job approval, but getting 41% of the vote. Probably the most puzzling aspect of this election. Either these voters, A, are voting on Trump's personal characteristics, or B, are lying to pollsters or themselves. The thing is, it is mostly unanswerable until Election Day. Nate Silver chimes in. He's net -5 on approval, but net -9 on personal favorability in that poll. I think I've seen claims that favorability actually trends to predict the horse race better. And Sean says A is not without support, meaning there are a lot of people who probably like what Trump is doing, but cannot stand the man. And this is why I've repeatedly told Trump supporters, and I'll say to you conservatives, you got to recognize it. Now, you can criticize it by all means. You can say it's stupid because, yeah, sure, I understand. But people vote on this stuff. Why did Barack Obama do so well? Not because his policy was good. I thought I regretted voting for the guy. Wouldn't vote for him a second time because he was blowing people up overseas. But man, that smile, they loved that celebrity smile of Mr. Smooth Barack Obama. He would come on TV and he would whisper sweet nothings into your ear with a stern father-like approach. And people loved him for it. And they voted for him. Not because he was doing anything great. And we kind of toted along. He blew up a bunch of people, started, I think, like 7 new wars or some ridiculous number. Didn't get us out of the Middle East, just kind of made everything worse. Signed the indefinite detention provision of the NDAA, ripped the AUMF. You get the point. Killed more American citizens without charge or trial than anyone else. I'm pretty sure, maybe the only one, I don't know. Prosecuted more whistleblowers under the Espionage Act than any other president and leakers. So yeah, Donald Trump speaks to a certain group of people and it worked. Will it work again? Here's what you need to consider. No one thought Trump was going to win. Now, I do think Trump's base has grown for sure. Definitely. I mean, I didn't vote for him in 2016. I'll vote for him now. A lot of other people are in a similar position. But think about all of the regular people who never thought Trump would win and didn't care, who are now realizing, ooh, we should have voted. And they're going to go vote. Are there more people who underestimated Trump than people who are joining Trump now? Because if that's the case, if there are, Trump will lose. Trump will lose. Now, there's another thing to read in this. Something that Sean T didn't bring up. Well, or he's kind of right. They're lying to pollsters or themselves. Yeah. We've seen a poll suggesting that people are lying, and this could explain it better than anything. Think about it. I've mentioned this before, of course. You've got journalists who lie and smear people all day, and they go after regular people. You get a phone call, and they're like, hello, I'm a journalist, and I want to know who you're voting for. You're going to be like, Biden, click. So you're talking to someone, and they say, how do you feel about the job Trump is doing? You say, I think he's doing pretty good. I would approve of it. You going to vote for him? No. I mean, I wouldn't. I could. Not for that bigot. Maybe that's what they're saying. I don't necessarily believe it, though, because if that were the case, why would they say they approved of what Trump is doing? Some have speculated the fact that people would approve of Trump's job, but not say they would vote for him shows there is a silent majority, or at least a large faction of secret Trump voters. I think it's much more simple than that, to be honest. I think they don't know how to poll people anymore. Gone are the days of the landline phone call. Ring, ring. Hello. Hi, I'm with the New York Times Siena, and we're asking questions. Oh, fire away. Now it's your phone rings, and you're like, I'm not going to answer that number I don't know, because the last time I did, it was some lady speaking Chinese, or Mandarin, or Cantonese. Is that what they're, Mandarin maybe? I don't know, probably Mandarin. You get those phone calls, those scam calls? So we keep being told, especially older people, not to answer your phone for numbers you don't recognize. Someone's probably tried to poll me. I don't know. I won't answer the phone. I screen all my phone calls. Will that affect the polls? Probably. So how do we know any of this is legit? We don't. Jon Favreau, not the Marvel one. This guy is, what do you say? He says the other one, Crooked Media, Pod Save America. He says, I keep thinking it has to do with the 12% who say they somewhat support Trump. If you think he's handling the economy well, but can't stand him on every other issue, you might say somewhat approve of the job he's doing, but tell a pollster you're either for Biden or undecided. That's a really good point. There's also an inverse point to this. Going along with the idea of the secret Trump voter, you may have people who just don't want to admit it, but are like, I can't admit it because, I'll put it this way. You get a call and they say, how do you think about Donald Trump's overall job? And you're like, somewhat approve. How do you feel about Trump on the economy? Oh, man, fantastic. 100% best economy ever. How do you feel about when he said X, Y, and Z? And you go, will you vote for a man who said these things for money? People aren't going to admit that. They're not going to want to admit that. And I've met people who have. I met a guy, I told the story, he was at an airport and he was like, look, Trump's a lowlife. I wouldn't invite him to my house for dinner, but the money's good. I'm going to vote for him. And that probably resonates more with people. We can sit here and speculate all day and night as to whether or not which way this goes. But the reality is the pollsters do not know. My respect to Nate Silver and Sean T, but I don't think anybody really knows. It's just all speculation. Take a look at this. Sean responded saying, I think the undecided is the point where lying to yourself comes into play. But I ultimately think of it this way. Nate's saying, if you run this election 100 times, Trump wins 22. That's around where I'd put it. The storyline for Biden winning is much more straightforward. The question is, what happens with those 22? I sort of think, quote, people who approve somewhat of the job Trump is doing end up voting for him is a straightforward part of the story. John responds, for sure. If you had a situation where Trump's vote share matches his New York Times approval and Biden gets all the disapprovers, it's a 50-46 race, which is close enough for Trump to potentially eke out an electoral college win again. Sean says at the same time, I can totally buy, quote, Trump is a horrible person without redeeming qualities. So this year, job approval doesn't quite function the same way it did in other years. And John says, I can also buy a little bit of both. Elizabeth Picciuto says, I'm not saying it isn't true that they're lying to pollsters because I have no clue if they are, but it's odd to lie about approval but not voting. And that's why Sean says maybe they're lying to themselves. We can't tell, but I don't know if it matters because let me show you this. Over at the Columbus Dispatch, Ohio Democrats dominating absentee ballot requests, possibly creating election night angst. They're saying we will not get the results of Ohio for 10 days. I don't buy it. None of it makes sense. I'm sorry, man. Look, let me show you the story from the Washington Post. Voting by mail helps the GOP. California's special election proved that. Why older voters vote by mail. Younger voters didn't. They didn't turn out. Voting by mail helped the GOP. So what is this narrative that Democrats are dominating? Maybe they are requesting it more. Fine. But I don't see how it makes sense. Aren't older people more likely to request vote by mail? Aren't they more likely to vote Republican? There's a lot of look. So maybe it's not true, but I'd imagine young people and younger people could just walk to the polling station. Whereas, older people, probably harder for them to get around, might need a ride, might just vote absentee because it's easier. At least that's what we saw here at the Washington Post. This story is from May 15th. They say the race in Southern California suggests that voting by mail can help Republicans win. So why are so many Republicans against it? Because the Democrats are cheating. You want to have a conversation about what it means to cheat? They are changing the rules at the last minute and then claiming they dominate in mail-in ballots when the evidence suggests otherwise. So if you create a system where, first of all, the Postal Service union members endorsed Biden, the union endorsed Biden, why would I give my vote to this person? Okay, maybe drop the vote off in person. Why would you change the rules and strip away election integrity at the last minute? Because you're cheating. So even though it might favor Republicans, they don't want it. Let people vote the way they've always voted. Of course, the Democrats and the progressives say they're just trying to disenfranchise voters. That makes no sense. You know why? Because the system's always been the way it is. If people want to vote, they just vote the way you're supposed to vote. How is it disenfranchising when you're like, just vote normally? I'm sorry, it's not. The Democrats' moves on this suggest they're cheating. Let me put it this way. I was having an argument and we looked at the definition of the word cheat. And it says to act unfairly or deceptively to give oneself an advantage. Okay, so it's unfair to alter the rules of the election at the last minute when Republicans say no and Democrats say yes. You do not have a democratically agreed upon rule change or policy change. Nope. Unilateral. Governor of New Jersey says, just do it. Mail everybody a ballot. Well, that's not fair, right? So the Democratic governor of New Jersey is acting unfairly to change the rules, which is, according to many stories, giving Democrats an advantage. I think I have gotten through the semantic portion of this argument. Yes, okay, they're cheating. So what's going to happen? I don't think what Sean is saying or anybody is saying about Trump's approval or favorability matters. I don't think so. I don't think anyone's going to accept the results. It's going to be a week or 2 weeks before we get the results in many states. Legal battles will then ensue. And what? Nobody wins? Pelosi becomes president? I saw a really scary post from some activists. Someone said that it was a post on Facebook from someone who follows me. And they said that they're a Biden supporter. They said that they were scared because they're not seeing any enthusiasm for Biden. And the response from the far left was fascinating. They said, I won't vote for Biden. Biden has betrayed progressives, and it doesn't matter anyway because you shouldn't be preparing for election day. They said you should be preparing for the dissolution or the collapse of this country. That's what they were preparing for. To hear that come from progressives, I thought was really interesting. Progressives thinking they're going to lose and saying they have to prepare for something more chaotic. I don't disagree. I mean, I don't know what you should do. I know what I'm doing, right? But I think things are going to get crazy. Who knows? I assure you from now till then, there's going to be way more videos about all of this. So I roll, I know. More speculation, more polls, blah, blah, blah. But thanks for hanging out anyway. I'll see y'all tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thanks for hanging out.